In Chapter 1, you will see just why Mercedes-Benz features a direct injection petrol engine as part of its M271 four-cylinder engine series. A little background knowledge is needed first, though. You will learn about the difference between the pollutants and the non-toxic gas emissions produced by petrol engines, and you will see what factors they are influenced by. You will also learn about the three main reasons behind the fuel savings achieved by the new engine. And finally, did you know that Mercedes-Benz first used direct petrol injection back in the 1950s? And do you know what name has been given to today's direct injection petrol engine? Firstly, road traffic is partly responsible for the consumption of petroleum, one of the planet's limited energy resources. Secondly, with the emissions it produces, it also contributes to atmospheric pollution. The same can be said of industry, agriculture, and households in general. The motor vehicle industry has committed itself to a reduction in vehicle fuel consumption. The objective is not just to halt the increase in consumption seen in the past, but to work hard reversing the trend, so that by 2008 fuel consumption figures may fall to a level 25% below 1995 values. This will help to conserve petroleum reserves and reduce atmospheric pollution. One of the various possible steps towards attaining this objective is the use of direct injection petrol engines. Atmospheric pollution deserves a closer study. The combustion of fuel and air in petrol engines produces exhaust gases. The greater part of these consists of harmless carbon dioxide and water vapour. Most of the nitrogen contained in the air passes through the engine unchanged. However, combustion produces a number of toxic substances too, such as carbon monoxide, hydrocarbon residues, and nitrogen oxides, all of which are harmful to health. In the catalytic converter, these pollutants are converted into non-toxic gases, as well as into carbon dioxide and water. Since the introduction of the closed-loop, three-way catalytic converter, modern petrol engines produce very low amounts of pollutants. Current engines complying with EU4 emissions standards often have a cleansing effect on the air. In other words, there are in fact smaller amounts of pollutants in the exhaust gas than in the intake air. As you can see, the exhaust gases can only be converted. They cannot be eliminated altogether. The quantity of exhaust gas depends directly on the amount of fuel consumed. You might ask yourself whether it wouldn't be enough to use sophisticated catalytic technology to avoid the emission of pollutants as far as possible. After all of the gases shown here are non-toxic. However, even though carbon dioxide is non-toxic, it is suspected of causing another problem, as are several other substances. A series of complicated processes in the stratosphere causes it to form a heat-insulating blanket around the Earth, which is contributing to the global increase in average temperatures. At the present time, this is the main reason for the efforts to reduce fuel consumption. You're now familiar with some of the chemical substances found in the exhaust gases produced by petrol engines. Can you divide these substances into toxic pollutants and non-toxic gases? Carbon dioxide, water vapour, and nitrogen are all non-toxic. They are the main components of the exhaust produced by modern engines. Carbon monoxide, hydrocarbon residues, and nitrogen oxides, on the other hand, are all toxic. They're mostly converted into non-toxic gases in the catalytic converter. As the quantity of carbon dioxide produced depends directly on the amount of fuel burned, fuel-efficient engines are called for. Petrol-powered engines with direct injection have the potential for cutting fuel consumption significantly. The low fuel consumption of direct injection petrol engines at certain operating ranges can be attributed primarily to the virtually complete combustion of the fuel with a high amount of surplus air, the more favourable temperature pattern during combustion, and the reduction of flow losses in the intake duct. The following chapters will examine this in more detail. Let's first take a look back into the past, though, for the principle of direct petrol injection is nothing new at Mercedes-Benz. The M198 engine, which powered the legendary 300 SL Gullwing, featured direct petrol injection, although its purpose was to boost output. In the photograph you can clearly see the 6 high-pressure lines leading from the inline injection pump to the cylinders. Now, direct petrol injection will be described taking as an example the first stratified charge engine to be used at Mercedes-Benz, the M271DE. The M271 engine series currently comprises 4 different engines. The M271DE with direct petrol injection is joined by 3 M271KE power plants with different output ratings, each featuring conventional port injection. All of the engines are known, also because of other shared features, as twin-pulse system. The names of models powered by direct injection petrol engines include the letters CGI, which stands for Stratified Charged Gasoline Injection. In this chapter, the relationship between fuel consumption, exhaust gases, and pollutants was explained. You now know that the principal components of a vehicle's exhaust gases are carbon dioxide, water vapour, and nitrogen. The petrol engine also generates pollutants such as, for example, carbon monoxide, hydrocarbon residues, and nitrogen oxides. The greater part of these pollutants are converted into non-toxic gases in the catalytic converter. Modern engines which comply with EU4 emissions limits are therefore practically pollutant-free. However, there is still a need to reduce the quantity of exhaust gases, particularly carbon dioxide. To do this, it is essential to reduce fuel consumption. One way of doing this is using direct petrol injection. This process is described here based on the M271DE engine.